On the Velvet Story, previously in Alpha, Reluctant Luna. Love may have crowned Serenya as the North's Luna, but peace is never without a price. Snow still blankets the Iron Fang stronghold, and Serenya and Kaelen stand stronger than ever, united, bonded, unstoppable. But beneath the harmony, something ancient begins to stir. Tonight, the past refuses to stay buried. The witches she once bargained with return. Their whispers creep into her dreams. Their shadows follow her steps. And the magic Serenya borrowed in desperation now threatens to tear everything apart, including her bond with the Alpha, who would burn the world for her. In this chapter, secrets unravel, loyalties are tested, and the darkness she thought she escaped finally calls in its debt. Welcome to Chapter 14, Shadows of the Past. Settle in. The storm is just beginning. In this chapter, the peace after their union is tested. The witches who helped Serenya with her spell resurface, demanding repayment, and the shadows of her past choices threaten the fragile happiness she and Kaelen have just built. The North was quiet in the weeks that followed the Luna ceremony. Snow blanketed the Iron Fang stronghold in sheets of silver, and the mountains glistened like frozen cathedrals beneath the pale sun. For the first time in years, laughter carried across the training yards. The howls of the wolves were no longer of discipline or warning. They were songs of unity. Inside the fortress, the Alpha and his Luna ruled side by side. Serenya found herself slipping easily into her new role. She oversaw the younger wolf's training, sat in council beside Kaelen during disputes, and spent long hours walking through the icy forests with him. Each day, she discovered another piece of the man behind the legend, the one who smiled faintly when she saw her hair tangled from sleep, who stole kisses in the corridors when no one was looking, who softened whenever she laughed. Kaelen, for his part, had changed in quiet ways. The edge of command was still there, sharp and undeniable, but his temper was gentler, his patience deeper. He had learned the weight of love, and it had reshaped him from the inside out. But even the brightest flame casts shadows.
It began with the dreams. Serenya would wake in the dead of night, heart pounding, the faint echo of whispers fading from her mind. They were soft and lilting, voices she couldn't quite recognize, except one. Serenya, little Luna. The voice was unmistakable. The witches! Her stomach turned cold. She sat up in bed, brushing her fingers across the faint crescent mark on her collarbone. The bond glowed faintly, calm and strong, but beneath it she could feel something else, a flicker of power that didn't belong. Kaelen stirred beside her. "What is it?" he murmured, half asleep. "Nothing," she said quickly, lying back down. "Just a dream." He frowned, sensing the lie, but didn't push. He gathered her closer, his breath warm against her hair. "You're safe," he whispered. "Nothing can touch you here." But even as his words wrapped around her, the shadows in her mind whispered otherwise. The next morning, Serenya wandered to the edge of the forest beyond the fortress walls. The snow here was undisturbed, the world still and silver. She closed her eyes, letting the cold wind brush against her face, and then she heard it again. "Little Luna, did you think magic comes without a price?" Her heart stilled. The trees seemed to darken, their roots curling like claws. From the mist stepped three familiar figures, the witches she had once sought out in desperation. They hadn't aged a day. Their eyes gleamed with the same eerie intelligence, and their lips curled in knowing smiles. "Why are you here?" Serenya demanded, forcing her voice steady. "Our bargain is over." The eldest witch tilted her head. "You think love is ever truly free, child?" The second witch laughed softly. "You asked us to hide you from your fate. The bond resisted. The moon intervened, and now you live as Luna of the North." The third witch's voice was a whisper of silk. But balance must be kept. Magic given must be magic returned. Serenya's wolf growled inside her. What do you want? The eldest witch's smile was slow and serpentine. A favor, small, but binding. A promise of your power. When the time comes, you will lend us your strength for one night. Nothing more. Serenya shook her head immediately. No, you can't. I won't let you use me. The witch's smiles didn't falter, but their eyes glowed faintly. The air around Serenya shimmered, tightening like invisible threads. Careful, Luna, the eldest witch whispered. Magic woven once can never be entirely undone. Then, as suddenly as they had appeared, they were gone, leaving behind only the echo of their laughter and a faint, acrid scent of smoke.
When she returned to the fortress, her hands trembled so badly she could barely undo her cloak. Kaelen was waiting for her in the council room, surrounded by maps and reports. The moment he saw her face, his expression hardened. What happened? Nothing, she said too quickly. He strode toward her, catching her wrist gently but firmly. Serenya. His voice dropped, quiet but commanding. Don't lie to me. The truth tumbled out in fragments. The dreams, the voices, the witches in the forest. When she finished, Kaelen's jaw was tight enough to crack. You went to them before we met, he said slowly, his tone edged with fury. You bound yourself to them. It was before I knew you, she protested, tears stinging her eyes. Before I even believed in the bond. He turned away, his hand gripping the edge of the table. You should have told me. I was afraid, she whispered. I didn't want you to see me as weak. Kaelen closed his eyes, forcing a slow breath. When he turned back, the anger in his eyes had dimmed, replaced by something heavier. Fear. I could never see you as weak, he said quietly. But magic that touches a mate bond, that's dangerous. If they try to use you again, I might not be able to protect you. Serenya reached for his hand, her voice trembling. Then we'll fight them together. He looked at her for a long moment, then pulled her into his arms. Always, he murmured. But I swear this, Serenya, if they come for you again, I'll burn their coven to the ground. That night, as Kaelen slept beside her, Serenya stared at the ceiling, her thoughts spinning. She knew the witches weren't finished, and deep inside, she feared they hadn't told her the full truth of the spell. Her wolf stirred restlessly. The moon will not forgive magic undone, Serenya whispered into the darkness. Then I'll make it right. But far away, deep in the shadows of the northern woods, 3 witches stood beneath the same moon, their eyes glimmering like shards of ice. The Luna's light burns bright, and the Alpha's bond makes her stronger. The third smiled coldly. Then we will take what we need from the bond itself. And as the wind howled through the mountains, the first thread of darkness began to unravel their fragile peace. The witch's warning lingers, and the curse begins to stir. Serenya morsed hide her growing weakness from Kaelen, even as the Alpha senses that something is terribly wrong. The nights grew longer. At first, Serenya thought it was only the winter deepening, the northern skies darkening sooner, the cold settling sharper into the stones of the fortress. But soon she realized it wasn't the season changing. It was her. She began to feel the drain, small at first, like a thread tugging at the edge of her strength. When she used her wolf senses during training, she tired faster. When she mediated disputes among the packs, her focus wavered. And every night, as she lay beside Kaelen, a faint shadow would stir at the edge of her dreams, the whisper of laughter she tried desperately to ignore. You can't outrun us, little Luna. Kaelen noticed before she could hide it completely. It happened one morning in the courtyard. during a mock sparring session with the younger wolves. Serenya lunged forward, her movements quick and fluid, until suddenly her knees buckled. Kaelen was at her side before anyone else moved. Enough! His voice cut through the cold air, sharp and commanding. The warriors instantly backed away. Serenya tried to stand. "I'm fine, Kaelen." "You're not fine," he snapped, catching her before she could fall again. His hand was cold against her cheek, his eyes burning with worry. "You're pale. Your pulse is too fast." She forced a smile. "I'm just tired." His jaw tightened. "No, it's more than that." He turned to his beta. "Clear the yard." The warriors scattered instantly, leaving them alone. Kaelen turned back to her, his voice lower now, rougher. "Is it them?" She looked away. "I don't know." He caught her chin gently, forcing her to meet his gaze. "Serenya, tell me the truth." Her throat tightened. "I think they're taking something from me." He went still. "Your magic?" She shook her head. "No, my strength. It's like they're draining me bit by bit, feeding on the bond." Kaelen's expression darkened with barely contained fury. "They're feeding on our bond?" "I can handle it," she said quickly, gripping his wrist. "If we go after them now, it'll only make it worse. Magic takes balance. If we push back too hard, the bond could—" "Don't say it," he growled. "Could break," she finished softly. Silence fell. The word hung between them, heavier than steel. Kaelen pulled her against him, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. "Then we'll find another way," he said, his voice shaking. "I'll call on the shamans from the north, the seers from the frostwood. Anyone. I won't lose you, Serenya. Not after everything." She pressed her forehead against his chest, her voice barely a whisper. "I won't let you." But as she said it, she felt it. That faint, invisible tug deep within her chest. The witches were listening, and they were pleased. That night, the dreams returned stronger. She stood in the forest again, the snow glowing faintly under the moonlight. The witches waited for her, cloaked in shadow. "You defy balance," the eldest said. "The bond between Alpha and Luna draws on the moon's favor. You owe the moon what you borrowed, a night of power freely given." "I won't give you anything," Serenya spat. The witch's laughter was soft, echoing through the air. "Then we'll take it ourselves." One of them stepped forward, brushing a cold hand across Serenya's heart. Pain lanced through her, sharp and searing. Her wolf howled, thrashing in agony. She woke gasping, clutching her chest. Kaelen was beside her instantly, his eyes wide with alarm. "Serenya!" Her skin was burning hot, her breathing ragged. "They're trying to take it," she choked out. Kaelen pulled her into his arms. "No, no, I won't let them." He pressed his hand to the bond mark, channeling his energy into her. His wolf's power surged, golden and fierce, battling the cold shadow that pulsed beneath her skin. For a moment, the air itself seemed to split, moonlight and shadow warring in the space between them. Then, just as suddenly, the darkness recoiled, fading into silence. Serenya slumped against him, trembling. Kaelen held her close, his voice a hoarse whisper. "You can't fight them alone. We do this together or not at all." She nodded weakly. "Together." The next morning, Kaelen called for his council. "The witches of the Frostline have broken a pact with the Luna," he announced. "They're stealing from her bond, from our bond." The room erupted in murmurs and growls. The beta slammed his fist against the table. "We'll hunt them, Alpha. The Coven will pay in blood." Kaelen shook his head.
Not yet. They're using ancient magic, something tied to the moon itself. If we destroy them without severing the link first, Serenya could... He couldn't say it. Wouldn't. Serenya stepped into the chamber then, pale but steady. "Then I'll sever it," she said simply. Kaelen turned to her sharply. "No." "Yes," she insisted. "It's my spell, my mistake. I'll face them. I have to." The beta looked uncertain. "Luna, with respect, you're too weak." "Then I'll get stronger," she said, her tone suddenly fierce. "I won't let my past destroy what we've built." Kaelen stared at her, the woman who had once run from the bond, now standing tall before the entire council, her eyes blazing with resolve. His chest swelled with both pride and fear. Finally, he nodded once. "Then we go together." That night, under a blood-tinged moon, Kaelen and Serenya rode north into the frozen woods. The snow fell in thick sheets, muffling every sound but the pounding of hooves and the whisper of wind. Ahead, the forest opened into a wide clearing, the same one where Serenya had once met the witches months ago. Only now, the air was thick with power. The witches waited. "You came," the eldest said, her tone soft, almost pleased. Kaelen dismounted, his eyes glinting with danger. "You touched what's mine." The witch smiled faintly. "And what is yours, Alpha, was once made by us." Kaelen's wolf flared behind his eyes. "Then I'll unmake you." Before Serenya could stop him, the air cracked, his power colliding with theirs in a blinding surge of light and shadow. The ground trembled, the moon flared red, and in the midst of the chaos, Serenya felt it, her bond stretching, screaming, straining to hold. She fell to her knees, pain splitting through her chest. "Kaelen, stop!" He turned toward her, his face torn between fury and fear. "I can't! They're bound to you!" The witch's laughter echoed, cruel and cold. And then the mark on Serenya's chest flared white-hot. Everything went dark. And that is where Chapter 14 leaves us. Serenya collapsing under the weight of ancient magic, Kaelen locked in a battle of power and desperation, and the witches closing in, ready to claim the bond that was never theirs. The moon bleeds red, the wolves tremble, and the fate of the Luna hangs by a single fraying thread. What did the witches truly bind into Serenya's soul? What happens when the bond between Alpha and Luna is pushed beyond its limits? And when the darkness finally takes what it wants, will Kaelen's love be enough to bring her back? Until next time on The Velvet Story, as we dive into Chapter 15, where destinies collide, truths are revealed, and the price of forbidden magic comes due. Stay warm, stay wild, and keep turning those pages in the shadows.